Mary, Mary, Katherine, Katherine. My maiden name was Ray, Rhea. My married name is Williams, Williams. I am 83, and I started Booker T when I was about 4 years old. They had something called Preemer, and I started there about that time. It was kind of like a kindergarten now. Miss Brown taught all the classes from Preemer on up to fourth grade, I think it was. We looked at books, we colored, stuff like that. My earliest memory that I've held all these years, and it had to start when I was about in the first grade. I was looking at this book, and it had the different seasons in it. Like a little girl was going up the hill, and it was summer, fall, winter, spring, whatever the seasons was. And it would be rain, it was a dark cloud, and it had rain, and then it had the sun shining, and it was sunny. It was a sunny day. Then snow was falling, and it would be a cold day. And it was such a beautiful picture that my mind just recorded it, and I still think about it every now and then when I see a cloudy day. We live in Jonesborough. We lived on 201 Depot Street. We moved up there when we were I was about 6 or 7. And before that, we lived further down on Depot Street, down there from that. And but they tore down that old house that we lived in. But for the most part, we lived up on 201 Depot Street. We would walk to school when it was raining. The rain was bad. Mama would call us a cab. If we had to go to school early, had to be there. And but for the most part, we walked through snow, and whatever kind of weather it was. Yeah. I remember blowing cigarette smoke. We called it. It's frost.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Speedy Cab. There's a cab service here in Jonesborough. My aunt, Virginia Silvers, was a teacher and principal, and my uncle, Robert Stewart, which wasn't my blood uncle, but he was married to my aunt, another aunt, not Virginia, but another aunt. He was a teacher and a principal. I'm trying to think of that other guy's name. I never liked him. I had him when I was in the 5th grade. I can't think of his name. But also I had Ernest McKinney, the principal and the teacher. He taught the upper grades. When I was there, I left, they had other teachers. And of course it made it hard on us because two of those people were kin to us. So they had to make a sample. You was really in trouble. Other kids, they might let them off, but they'd get us so they wouldn't say they were playing favorites. That's like having your mama teach you. And when it was cold, they would make hot dogs. If they didn't have buns, they just have them on this white bread and mustard. And they would give them to us out of they'd sell it to us rather for a dime, I think, out of the cafeteria. See, we had a cafeteria, and we had 2 classrooms. We didn't have an inside bathroom when I started school. That came on later, the bathroom set. But we had a big what is Jonesborough's auditorium now was our gym. Everything we had in our school was hand-me-downs. Everything from books to desks, they were all hand-me-downs. He was a sports fan. He'd get guys from Johnson City. In fact, the first time I saw my husband-to-be, which I didn't know he was going to be my husband, I didn't know him. Ted Hart saw he would help. He was from Johnson City, but he would help recruit the guys in Johnson City to come down and play with us, to practice with us. They didn't play it, but they'd come practice with us. And my my husband and his brother, Billie Jean Williams and Columbus Williams. My husband was Columbus. They would come down there and practice. I didn't know him from Adam. Didn't pay no attention to him either. Oh, I liked it. I just wasn't good at it. But when I got to Langston, they let me on the team, and because I was a cheerleader, so my mouth was so big that the coach would take me on trips so I could keep the team, up, getting them charged up. Recess, we would play games, and if it rained, I don't know if we had little checkers or something we would play. Sometimes we'd make a little ring in the schoolroom, but we would play hopscotch, ring around the roses, those type of games. A ball. Sometimes we play ball games. Nice. Ring around the roses. I think it was one game. I can't remember which you did, but that was one of the games. It was more like an open space. It was on the side of the school. We had a great big yard going down the back of it. But in the front where you go out, where the steps are, is where they used to play ball in that field down there. We wasn't allowed to get on the front lawn, because they kept that pretty nice. Oh, every one of them. One time I was a daffodil. Miss Brown would play. She played the piano, and she'd play the piano, or bang on it, or whatever you want to do. And we would have plays every year. Sometimes they'd make us costumes, and sometimes they wouldn't. It's according to, I guess, how things was going. Katherine Greenlee was one of them, and I can't remember the other ladies. I know one thing, I never had the voice. That's when I learned I couldn't carry a tune, and I never have been able to since. Virginia Lee Patton and Annie Ruth, they had beautiful voices. They sung real pretty. But when Herbert and I, when we were I guess we must have been in the second grade, I thought he was my boyfriend. He had beautiful loose curly hair, and Fannie Mae thought he was her boyfriend. So we got in a shove fight one day over him, and Miss Cheryl took us up to the big classes. That was the older class kids. And she asked him, said, "Now, Herbert, you got these girls fighting over you. Said, now, which one do you want?" And he said, "I guess I'll take Mer Katherine." And but to this day, he'd say, "I picked the wrong one." Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun up there. We was being deprived, but we didn't know it. So it was good. It was all good. Talking too much, going to the bathroom, staying too long. Just that kind of stuff. They put you in timeout because they didn't call it timeout though, but they couldn't really keep you after school back then because you had to catch the school bus if you was going down that way. If we was going up, if being a small kid, I'd have to walk with the big ones, to go home. I guess they had what the school system asked for. I guess that's what they fed us. I don't know. I can't remember, but we had quite, we had a good lunch. We even had a little milk in the cartons then. I guess they was in the cartons, but we had milk. Beans and cornbread sometimes. I can't remember, but they cooked pretty good. We had good cooks, and so they would fix our meals, and we would walk at lunchtime. We'd line up, and there was a counter there separating the kitchen from the tables, and we'd walk around and get our lunch and go sit down. Well, I always ate what the school brought, and sometimes I'd bring something from home, but the kids from Limestone and Telford, Washington College, they bring their lunch all the time, just about. Because you had to pay for your lunch. It wasn't no free lunch, you had to pay for it. So we used that in the cafeteria. No, they didn't have a janitor when I was there. The teachers this was the janitors. Now they might have got one later on, but when I don't remember being one. It was wonderful for me. I had friends, but the ones that caught the bus was closer friends to each other. So sometimes they wouldn't play with me. And I'd buy candy. There was a store around there going up to Booker T. And I would buy candy and stuff so I could have somebody to somebody to play with and give them candy. I had to buy my friends. And once I got the license, I thought, forget that. So I became a cheerleader and got involved in everything. And I had 4 good years at Langston. Met my husband there. He's a good basketball player and a good football player. And I was a cheerleader. I graduated from Langston in 1955. 65. I went to college. First time I went to Durham Business College over in North Carolina. I got an associate degree there. And then I came back and got married that winter. And I didn't go back to school again until after my husband retired from the service. And my lifestyle did not want to go to college. So I went to at East Tennessee State and got my BS. And then I went to the University of Louisville, Kentucky, to get my master's. My husband was in the military, so I traveled with him on up until we moved back here. We bought this property before we moved back. I always wanted to come back to Jonesborough because I've never seen it, and I've seen a lot. We was overseas a lot. I've never seen no place I like as well as I do Jonesborough. Jonesborough is a beautiful place. No, I'd come here like if my dad, we come for visits. If we would come home, maybe like 2 or 3 months, if he was going overseas, if we couldn't get concurrent travel, then we'd come home and stay in Jonesborough. So I thought my kids liked Jonesborough because they was always excited to come back. But once they got here and got in school, which I didn't realize because, like I said, I'd been away overseas. We spent about 6 years overseas, not concurrent, but little sketches of time. I didn't think that they would run into trouble at David Crockett. And they came from a school where it was everything. You name it, any race, creed, or religion. They had it in other schools, in military schools. You're not allowed to discriminate when I was there because your daddy would get in trouble or your mama would get in trouble. If it was a military man, he'd get in trouble, because we were all United States citizens. But anyway, they came back here, and this young man that was on the telephone, he went to school up here at Jonesborough. I think when he came back, he was in the middle school, yeah. And he wanted to know, he came home and he said, Mama, where's all the people? And I said, what people? He said, the black people and the brown people and the... He started naming over. I said, well, baby, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was like that because when I left, schools were segregated. And, of course, when I came back, they wasn't. And so my kids had an awful hard time adjusting, and none of them wanted to live here. They all of them went to college but one. He was 5 years old when we came back here, so this was about the only home he knew, But the rest of them, as soon as they got out of school, they went to college, and they stayed until this one. He got divorced and he moved back. But I had one that just moved back from Houston, Texas, and she's living in Nashville now. And then my oldest child lives in Gallatin, Tennessee. But like I said, he got divorced and he moved back here. And my baby boy, he's from one place to another, and he got married, but he got divorced, so he keeps on moving. It enriches you to see how other people live. People they live different in different parts of the world, and even they cook different. In Memphis, they cook different than we do here. I didn't know what a collard green was until I went away to school, because Mama always fixed creases and turnips. Had it. We didn't eat that much rice. The only time we had rice was when Mama fixed liver and rice. When she fixed liver, she fixed rice to go with it. And people down south, they ate rice all the time. And collard greens, they didn't know what creasy greens was. 2002, yeah, he had cancer, and he was having headaches, but we thought it was just headaches, And he was losing weight, but we still didn't put that together. And I was a social worker, and at the time I was working for Head Start. I was down here at the ballpark. I came home for lunch because he was working at the VA, and he only he worked the second shift. So I came home for lunch. And he met me when I came in the door. He was standing at the top of the steps. He said, Mary, he said, there's something wrong with me. He said, I went to shave this morning and I couldn't hold my razor. It just kept falling down. I thought he'd had a stroke. So I checked him and he hadn't, he didn't have none of the symptoms. So I said, we better go to the emergency room. And we did. And when we got up there, I think I called Nancy and told her to meet us at the emergency room. But when we got up there, they came in, the doctor came in after they run some tests, and they said, Mr. Williams, there's no easy way to tell you. You have cancer of the lung, and it's in the fourth. It was real mature. And he lived, that was in December 13th, I'll never forget it, December the 13th, and he lived until February the 22nd. They kept him in the hospital to run more tests that day. And he told me, he said, Mary, I don't want to die in the hospital. And I told him, baby, if I got anything to do with it, you won't. And I brought him home and he died upstairs in the bedroom with me holding his hand. And I missed him so much. He was one of the good guys. He was really good. He was changing diapers before men did that, He was a good father and a grandfather. But life goes on. Yeah, it was rough. It still gets rough sometimes. And you all are doing a wonderful thing. I'm so glad that y'all did something with that school. I thought it was going to fall down there. Because it used to be, well, it's pretty now, but right there, where the steps are going up. It used to be windows over on that other side. It was a pretty school, and it was a nice school. They took good care of it. But then, like Langston, they let Langston tap fall down too. Only they wasn't lucky as Booker T. They didn't have nothing left at the gymnasium, the only thing they had. But they got it. They got rooms built onto it, and they have classes and stuff in there, so that's good. And a lot of people came out of that little school that went on to nice careers. They, doctors, teachers, nurses. You name it, they went to from that little old school. For the time, it was a wonderful community. So all our playmates was white playmates, because it was just the three girls, and Daddy never let us go no place. So we play out in the yard, but we played. We didn't go to each other's schools, but we played together. And the churches they'd come to our church, we'd go to their church, and the house next door to us was. The Greenlee house wasn't there then when we moved up there, but the house next to us was the Thomason when we first moved up there. And when, I don't know if it was their daddy or the next people, it was Daddy, but my daddy took food and money down there to them, and we were friendly, So I didn't have a hard time selling into military life. A lot of people did, a lot of blacks did, but I didn't. I didn't come in with a chip on my shoulder. People say this, but it's the truth. I had just as many white friends, but I love Jonesborough. Jonesborough is a nice little place. Nobody bothers you unless you bother them. And over here it's quiet. I don't have to be bothered with a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, all the little kids have grown up and left, and it's all old people over here. At Halloween, we'd have Halloween things up there sometimes. Like costumes, bobbing your head in the thing to get apples out. I remember that. My daddy and my mama was very active, and they used to have dances down there, and Daddy would do the whatever it is.
The calling?
Yeah. They do square dances, and Daddy would do that, and they'd have cake walks. People would walk around the gym, and whenever they stop, whoever stopped at a certain place got a cake. We did that. I mean, they kept putting Easter hunts, Easter egg hunts. They kept us pretty busy, Auditorium.
Yeah.
It was mostly women and mostly women. Every now and then a man would jump up in there. And the dances, the square dances, the children would be trying to do it too, but they were for the adults. And that's about it. They did things. So it wasn't a washout. It was good. Yeah, it was good. Booker T was good.